Shalom, everyone. Good Purim! Good Purim! Good Purim! This is Shlomo Katz. You're listening to the sound of Purim on the Voice of Purim, on the Voice of Purim Network. What a privilege it is to really smell the holiday that we all long for and wait for all year long.
The land of Purim Network.
The land of Purim, the sound of Purim, the voice of Purim. Everything Purim. That's how Purim it really is right now. We're really on the brink. I hope we get this. We're recording right now on a Tuesday morning, but we hope we get this out as soon as possible. Maybe as Purim comes in, you'll all be listening to this. Or maybe as Purim is, physically leaving you, you'll all be listening to this. But whatever it is, may we all be blessed for Purim to make its way through us and not just a day that's on the calendar. Shalom Aleichem, my dear brother. A Purim friend of mine, I must say.
We're Purim friends.
We're Purim friends, Rabbi Ari Abramowitz. How you doing?
Baruch Hashem. I just have to say, they say about Rabbi Nachman, Nachal Navea Makor Chochma, constant Torah bubbling forth. I look at you, especially on a day like today, where from 7:30, you're constantly
we are. All of us.
We are. Okay, fine. Fine.
All of us. Look, we're hungry. We're hungry. I tell you what it is. I feel like we really want to make sure that we get the avoda, the work of the day, right on Purim. I've been telling my chevra the following thing that happens to me almost every year. On around this time of year, I have a friend that calls me and asks me, where are you doing the avoda this year? Which means, where are you doing the actual work you have to do on Purim Day? Now, you'll be thinking, that, what do you mean work? Everyone's off. It's partying. It's feasting. It might look like that.
Out of all days, it's the one you
correct.
At least associate with the work, the service, yeah.
Correct, but essentially, there is something on the level of work that needs to get done on Purim Day. And I wanted to discuss that just for a few brief moments, because I know everyone has a million things to do, but I wanted to make sure we really, really connect in a very deep way to a certain level of avodah, of work that needs to be done. You can look at every pasuk of the Megillah, and the Megillah Esther, the story of Esther, and you could read it or on its pshat, meaning what the story is simply telling me, a narrative. This is what happened over here. That's what that role played. This is what this person said. Or you can understand in your heart of hearts that Hashem is telling you something through every single word of the Megillah. It's God telling you something. Mamash. There's a way to learn out Megillat Esther like that. That every single pasuk is God telling us something. And the famous question is, why isn't God's name mentioned in the Megillah? Well, it's simply because when you're so close to somebody, like I am with you right now, I don't have to say, hey, Ari. Why? Because there's no one else here. It's clear that I'm in your presence and you're in mine, and we're conversing with each other. You only need to use names when you have to be reminded of your surrounding and a bigger picture. But because due to the fact that there's such a sense of closeness through Purim and the story of Esther, God's name isn't there because there's no need. He's so there.
I'm even thinking, if you and I are having a conversation here right now, and you say, Ari, listen, what's the reason you would say, Ari, listen, in this conversation? To say, hey, come
Focus.
closer now.
Right.
Come closer. But if we're as close, you wouldn't need to say my name at all.
And that's one of the reasons, that's one of the ways of understanding why God's name isn't in the Megillah. Because he's so God, so to speak, is so in the Megillah. And if that's the case, he's telling me something through every single pasuk in the Megillah. So what's the avodah that God is asking us to do during the reading of the Megillah and during Purim? So, friends all over the world, please open your heart for the following few minutes. It won't take long, but it's a little bit of a, like we like to call here, a cardiac circumcision. A brief cardiac circumcision. And let's go deep into a question we always avoid. Why do we ask God for so little? Why do we limit the ability of God in our life? Why don't we dream big? Why don't we walk through gates that are open to us? And there are many different reasons. One is that I don't ask God for too much because I'm scared I'll be rejected. And I'd rather not deal with the pain of rejection. Another might be that I'm not sure that I really know what I want to ask from God. That's legit too. But another one is that I might be too terrified that what I ask for actually becomes true. And when it comes to that one, that's a place that we can each, I don't know, I wouldn't say hide under a rock, but run into a forest and contemplate that one for a while. That's all when I'm working in the realm of my intellect, because I might think that I don't know what to do with what God gives me in this world. And intellectually speaking, that's true. I may not know how to receive that which I'm asking from Hashem. So I don't ask. But what happens on Purim? On Purim, I make my way through my intellect to the above end of the intellect, which is the place which is called Ad de lo Yada, until I reach a state of that I don't really know, meaning that I let go of the control and I'm hanging out in that domain. And in that place, I can ask Hashem for anything. I could receive anything. And I'm not too nervous as to what I can do with God gives me or doesn't give me, because it's beyond my understanding of my control and my capabilities. Now, another reason why we don't ask God for so much is because we're scared that we'll owe him. I don't want God to give me too much, because then it's like, then I really have to be a good boy. And I'd rather have that leeway to always get out of jail for free card, one of those. But that's still working within my intellect, thinking that God's like a bank. I put in money, I take out money. That's all in the world of da'at, of knowledge, of this world. I make my way through all that on Purim to the place of Ad de lo Yada. So now let's go back into the Megillah, because Hashem is telling us something specific. We have a Masorah, we have a tradition, that in the Megillat Esther, whenever it says HaMelech HaChashverosh, the king Achashverosh, it's referring to King Achashverosh. But whenever it just says HaMelech on its own, it's referring to God. The God at that moment is literally telling you something. So one of the psukim one of the phrases where God is literally saying, V'yomer HaMelech l'Esther Malka, that God tells Esther, God tells the Jewish queen, God tells the Shechina, God is telling Am Yisrael, Ma she'elatech ve'yinaten lach. What is it that you're asking for? And it will be given to you immediately. That's what it says in the Megillah. Right now, no one's telling you how to calculate what Hashem wants to give you, how to be with it, how not to be with it. It's literally a day where the gates are wide open to ask for whatever you want to ask for whatever you need. Ma she'elatech ve'yinaten lach. It'll be given to you. Uma bakashatech, and what's your request? Ad chatzia malchut. That's a terminology in Hebrew, means until half a kingdom, but literally it means like everything. And the Hasidic rabbis would urge their students that as much as it's important to do everything else on Purim, tefillah on the day of Purim is mamish like a subconscious Yom Kippur, an unconscious Yom Kippur. You see, on Yom Kippur, what am I asking for? I'm not asking for everything. I'm asking on a detailed level to be forgiven. I specify my sins. I lay them out. Ashamnu, bagadnu, v'al chet, shechatan lefanecha. It's over this sin that I did this, I did that. Those are all details. And I'm asking, but my asking is from God is very limited, and it's very direct to certain specific things. But on Purim, God says, listen, you're out of details now. Ma she'elatech ve'yinaten lach. And in the Zohar HaKadosh, the Tzaddikim, the Kabbalah, always speak about it's a day where all the gates are open to go into the places you normally and usually don't go to for whatever the reasons are, like a number of the ones which we specified before, and go in that place. But normally in this world, you can't really do it consciously. You do it between this world and the next world. So how do you know if you had a holy drunk on Purim? If you spent the whole time crying to Hashem, screaming to Hashem, not how silly I sounded or how funny how great the jokes I told or how great my costume was. It was, if someone asks you, how was Purim? The barometer, the measurement is always, wow, I went to the place of asking for things I would have never dared ask from God before. Because it's a day of Ma She'elatech Be'inaten Lach. So I've been telling my friends the following thing. And no one's going to check you on this homework, friends, brothers and sisters all over the world. But it's worth it to give it a shot. Write down that pasuk. Ma she'elatech be'inaten lach. What is your request and it'll be granted to you? Write it down on a piece of paper before Purim. Or the morning of Purim. Put it down next to you during the Seudah, during the feast. And as the feast progresses and goes along, keep on glancing over it. Keep on looking at it. Over and over again. And let that be that which sets the tone and the rhythm of your Seudah. And may we be blessed to know of a Purim like the world has never seen before, and to go into all those places we normally don't, and to continue sensing that closeness of being so in the midst of Hashem that there's not even a use for names. Good Purim! Good Purim! Good Purim!
This is Gil Hoffman, host of Inside Israel Today, here on the Land of Israel Network, on thelandofisrael.com. My favorite holiday is Purim, and it's also a day where we have to be very thankful to God for saving the Jewish people. And just like He saved the Jewish people back then in the days where Persia was an evil empire, He is saving us again today. Happy Purim, listeners around the world. And thank you for listening to thelandofisrael.com.